Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. I am Tom Downey. Week 1 was a disaster. There's no way around it. Overreaction Monday is coming up here on the channel. But if you want better results in Week 2, then like the video. We didn't get that many likes in Week 1. The Bengals lost. I don't think that's just a happenstance. I think there is a correlation there. So like the video if you want better results in Week 2. This was a disaster in Week 1, man. Jeez, what a mess. The offense had nothing going. Joe Mixon played well. I thought guys like DJ Reader, Jermaine Pratt played pretty well, but beyond that, it was just a dumpster fire of a performance. So we're going to break down some overreactions I've seen on social media, the live chat from our game, the comment section, and more here on today's show, beginning with a doozy. Joe Burrow sucks. He stole money. Actual comments I saw, by the way. No. No, this is not. This is an insane take. Some would say an asinine take as well. To be clear, he needs to be better. I don't think anyone's going to say, yes, that is franchise quarterback play. That is number one quarterback play. That is your guide play. It was not good enough from Joe Burrow. He was 14 of 31. He had 82 passing yards, and that was it. He didn't look good at all. He has to be better going forward. I do think he will be better going forward. I am not in full-on panic mode over Joe Burrow, in part because, and it is frustrating, I know, we've seen the Bengals struggle early on in the season before. I mean, Week 1 last year was really bad. One bad game does not define a season. There were plenty of reasons and or excuses why it did not go well for Burrow. The calf probably isn't 100% quite yet. Maybe that was in his head a little bit. The weather was horrible. I mean, if you watched any other game involving the weather, you saw a lot of bad quarterback play. Now, that's more of an excuse than a reason, potentially. I think the lack of chemistry was on display. Burrow said he wanted to play in the preseason. I think we saw why. There were some chemistries. I took the cheese when I said, Burrow doesn't need reps with Jamar Chase, Tee Higgins. He needs them with Tee Higgins, I guess. We'll talk about that later on in today's show. But I was disappointed by the Bengals offense. I am as well. Or I'm sure you are as well. But I am not panicking right now. This is your chance. We're still kind of in that 24-hour window, so one more safe space to express your frustrations and vent. What is your panic level over the offense and Joe Burrow? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. That's the pinned comment on today's show. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Overreaction number 2. Zac Taylor is a bad play caller. I don't think Zac Taylor called a very good game. The Bengals seemed kind of unprepared for the weather, seemed a bit unprepared for the blitzes the Browns came at them with, and that's concerning to me. But we've also seen the Bengals have issues again early on in the season. This was about as bad as it was. I thought there were some iffy decisions on when to go for it, when not to go for it, when to kick, when to punt. The Bengals offense struggled. I am optimistic that Joe Mixon ran the ball so well. That's one positivity standpoint there. But this is not the first time that a slow start to a Bengals season has happened. They seem to start a little bit slow or sloppy or whatever, and then they get going. We've seen Zac Taylor make adjustments based on what teams are doing to them. So because of that, I am not panicking here either. I am disappointed. I am sad. I am frustrated. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed type of vibes. But it has to be better moving forward. You're in a dogfight for the number 1 seed. That is your expectation. Not just make the playoffs, not win the division. Get the number 1 seed. Home field advantage. Don't go back to Arrowhead or Buffalo or wherever. These types of games, these dogfight games in the AFC North, got to do better in. Now, today's show is made possible by BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125 for a 125% deposit bonus when you put down at least $100. You mentioned these AFC North games are dogfights. Well, you have another one coming up this weekend against the Ravens. Bengals at home in this one, and the Bengals are 3.5-point favorites, which I was a bit surprised by given the way Week 1 went. But hey, I am prepared to make myself feel pain again. I'm ready to get hurt again. I might put $5 more down on the Bengals. That's because I have a bunch of bonus money still. That way, if you lose some bets, you're still covered off. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code chat125. Overreaction number 3, don't pay Tee Higgins. Now, there's actually a lot to unpack here from an overreaction standpoint of he had a really bad game and a newsy standpoint of what has been reported by the Cincinnati Enquirer. We'll come back to that, but first, the game itself. Higgins was bad. I think T was very upset with the way he played. He himself said there were some miscommunications on, he saw this, but that wasn't what the defense actually did, and he ran the wrong route. You saw some of those, like, I call them side adjustments. It's not always a side adjustment of, like, you go downfield, but you come back on a comeback, and the quarterback throws a back shoulder fade. It's kind of just more defensive, a read on your defense there. Higgins, and he said this, he's never played a game. We actually played, not like, garbage time, whatever, where he never caught a pass. And he did in a contract year, mind you. 8 targets, 0 catches, a very disappointing performance out of Tee Higgins. But it is just one game. It's one game in a long season. Now, I tweeted this out before week 1 began. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. Don't get too much anxiety. Don't tilt too hard. It's a long season. You're going to need that energy for December and January. But it does matter for a player even more so in a contract year, especially one who allegedly the Bengals don't plan on retaining long-term. Here's what the Enquirer, Kelsey Conway, reported. The former second-round pick out of Clemson is not believed to be in the Bengals' future plans. Higgins was offered a contract extension this offseason, but it didn't meet what Higgins is expecting to get on the open market. Cincy's front office will have the option to apply the franchise tag next offseason. Higgins keep him around for one more season, but that doesn't seem likely. Let's break that down. I do not know what the Bengals offered Tee Higgins. I think you got to at least offer the A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf contract. I know that's a lot. I get it. Trust me, I know the sticker shock there. But CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, those guys, when they sign their deals, they're going to blow by that $25 million figure. And if you are Tee Higgins, there's very little incentive for you to take anything other than a top 8 contract as it sits right now at wide receiver. Because the franchise tag, projected figures for receivers next year, is almost $23 million. It's a massive figure. There's no reason for Higgins' camp to say, if you're just basing on the money, to go, yeah, we'll take, $520 per year. That's below market value. The market is the market. It dictates how you do your contracts in the NFL. Higgins knows there's a bunch of teams out there who would happily throw money his way. I mean, the Texans, for example, the Panthers would love a legitimate wide receiver one. The Giants still need one. Like, there would be a lot of interest. There will be a lot of interest in Higgins. Maybe even a tag and trade could make some sense. But that's a future issue. So do you want to keep Tee Higgins? Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section right now. Long term, not talking this year, you're keeping him this year, but next year, do you want to keep Higgins? Go vote in the comments. Focused in on this upcoming week, by the way, you have to get Tee Higgins going. I don't want him in his head. I don't want, Jesse Bates once said he was in his head a little bit, thinking too much, trying to justify the big contract he was going to get. I don't want that for Tee Higgins. Get him comfortable, get him going. First play call, it's a slant, it's a bubble screen, it's a whatever, it's a back shoulder fade. It's something simple and quick and easy to get Tee Higgins going, get him back on the right track. That's what Zac Taylor should do. Our next goal here is 4,500 subs. We appreciate everyone who has subscribed as of late. We're approaching 1,000 this month already. Let's keep growing. Hit that sub button right now. Overreaction number 4. The offensive line sucks. One game was probably true. I'm not out on them altogether. I think this Browns defense just might be really good with Jim Schwartz this year. It's only one game, but make no mistake, you need much more out of this Bengals offensive line. Looking at the pressures allowed, way too many. Now, was it Giants against the Cowboys bad? I don't know if you saw this. The Giants had 25 dropbacks. They allowed 39 pressures. Almost one and a quarter per snap. It was insane. The Bengals allowed a lot, though, too. Jordan Williams had 3. Orlando Brown had 3. Cordell Volson, Alex Kappa, Ted Karras all had 2. They consistently got beat up front. Myles Garrett was cooking. He was in his bag. It was a big issue there. You can't allow that many pressures. There also were miscommunications on the offensive line and, frankly, across the offense altogether. I will blame the rust from that perspective. I think that was a big issue for the Bengals up front, not just along the offensive line, but on the entire team. More on that in a second. But what was your number one disappointment in Week 1 for the Bengals? Any player, coach? I guess everything could work as well, but I like to have a bit more of a dialed-in answer there. Maybe just Burrow. Sound off for me in the comments section. Reaction number 5, or overreaction number 5, excuse me. It's the weather's fault. It's the no preseason's fault. That's kind of true, actually. The weather was bad. You saw a lot of bad play across the NFL in Week 1. The offense was inconsistent. They didn't look very good. At the same time, it's a reason-excuse hybrid. You know, I'm sure you guys did too, Sunday Night Football, Cowboys-Giants. Cowboys didn't play in the preseason. Giants did. Cowboys blew them out of the water. You know, the Dolphins barely played at all in the preseason. They had like a series. Like would the 10, 15 snaps you have got in your offense really have made the difference? I don't think so. Now, maybe all the training camp time Burrow missed was a big factor, but look, there's a lot of bad stuff from Week 1 for the Bengals, a lot of reasons, the calf for Burrow, the missed time, the weather, the lack of preseason, the coaching, a lot of reasons, a lot of excuses, has to be better in Week 2.